The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers. A major business deal was about to be signed. A female CEO sat quietly in her wheelchair, trying to stay composed. Suddenly, a drunk, wealthy man stormed forward. He grabbed the microphone and roared, "Stand up when you talk to me." Her voice broke as tears filled her eyes. "Don't hurt me. I can't walk." Mocking laughter echoed through the hall. In the corner, a man in a janitor's uniform stood beside his young daughter. He slowly rose to his feet, and the next thing he did left everyone stunned. Jack Turner was 38 years old. He was a single father. He was also a former soldier who now worked as a mechanic. His life was simple. His world revolved around one person, his 9-year-old daughter, Ella. Every morning, Jack woke up at 5. He made breakfast. He packed Ella's lunch. He walked her to the school bus. Then he went to work at the garage downtown. His hands were always covered in grease. His clothes smelled like oil and metal. But he never complained. Ella thought her father was a hero. She didn't know about the medals hidden in his drawer. She didn't know about the battles he had fought. All she knew was that Daddy always kept his promises. He always made her smile. Around Jack's neck hung a silver dog tag. It was old and scratched. He never took it off. Not when he showered. Not when he slept. That tag reminded him of who he used to be and who he had lost. Across town lived Isabella Lane. She was 32. She was the CEO of a tech company worth millions. She was brilliant. She was fierce. But 3 years ago, a car accident changed everything. She lost the ability to walk. Now Isabella moved through boardrooms in a wheelchair. She hated when people stared. She hated when they whispered. She hated pity more than anything else. So she built walls. She worked harder. She proved herself every single day. Tonight was important. A massive contract signing at the Grand Horizon Hotel. 500 guests, champagne, camera flashes. Isabella's company needed this deal. She needed this win. Jack wasn't supposed to be there. He was only delivering equipment for the event. A last-minute favor for his boss. He brought Ella along because the babysitter canceled. She wore her favorite yellow dress. She held his hand tight as they entered through the service entrance. The ballroom was beautiful. Golden lights, white tablecloths, men in expensive suits, women in designer gowns. Ella's eyes went wide. "Daddy, it's like a palace," she whispered. Jack smiled. "Just for a little while. Sweetheart, we'll be out soon." They stayed in the back corner. Jack watched the workers set up the stage. Ella swung her legs on a chair, drawing in her notebook. Everything seemed perfect, calm, normal. Then Isabella arrived. Her assistant pushed her wheelchair to the front table. She wore a navy blue dress. Her hair was pulled back. Her face showed confidence. But Jack noticed something else. Her hands gripped the armrest too tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. The crowd began to gather. Glasses clinked. Conversations buzzed. The ceremony was about to begin. That's when Richard Moore walked in. 45 years old. Owner of 3 companies. Known for his arrogance. Known for his cruelty. He was already drunk. His face was red. His steps were unsteady. He saw Isabella at the front table. He laughed, loud and ugly. Several people turned to look. Jack felt something shift in his chest. A warning, a shadow of something bad about to happen. Ella tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, why is that man laughing?" "I don't know, baby." But deep down, Jack knew. He had seen men like Richard before. Men who thought power meant stepping on others. Men who needed to be stopped. The lights dimmed. The microphone turned on. The host began speaking. Isabella prepared to sign the contract. Her hand moved toward the pen. And that's when Richard Moore decided to make his move. Richard Moore pushed through the crowd. He stumbled. He knocked over a glass. Wine spilled on the white carpet. Nobody stopped him. Nobody dared. He grabbed the microphone from the host's hand. Feedback screeched through the speakers. People covered their ears. Isabella looked up. Her face went pale. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard slurred. His words were thick. His eyes were cruel. "I have a question. A very important question." The room fell silent, confused, uncomfortable. Richard pointed at Isabella. "How can a woman in a wheelchair run a company? She can't even stand up for herself." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some people looked away. Others stared. A few cruel faces smirked. Isabella's hands began to shake. Her voice came out small. "Mr. Moore, please. This is a professional event." Richard laughed again, louder this time. "Professional? You want professional? Then stand up when you address me. Show some respect." The words hit like a slap. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. She tried to hold them back. She tried to stay strong, but her lip quivered. One of Richard's friends shouted from the back, "She can't even stand. How's she going to stand up to competition?" More laughter. Scattered. Nervous. But laughter nonetheless, Isabella whispered, barely audible. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." Richard leaned closer. His breath smelled like whiskey. "Then maybe you shouldn't be here. This world is for people who can stand on their own 2 feet." In the corner, Ella grabbed Jack's hand. Her small fingers squeezed tight. "Daddy, that's mean. He's being really mean." Jack felt heat rise in his chest. His jaw clenched. His old instincts kicked in. The soldier in him woke up. He had promised himself he would never fight again. He had promised to leave that life behind. But some promises were meant to be broken. "Stay here," Jack told Ella. "Daddy, or where are you going?" "To do the right thing." Jack stood. His work boots made soft sounds on the carpet. He walked through the crowd. People barely noticed him. To them, he was just a worker, just part of the background, invisible. But Isabella saw him. Her tear-filled eyes met his. For a moment, something passed between them. Recognition, hope, a silent plea. Jack stepped in front of Isabella's wheelchair. He placed himself between her and Richard. His body became a wall, a shield. Richard blinked, confused, annoyed. "Excuse me? Who are you?" Jack didn't answer. He just stood there, calm, solid, unmovable. Richard's face turned red. "I said, who are you? Step aside. Janitor. This doesn't concern you." Jack's voice was quiet, but it carried weight, like thunder in the distance. "Touch her again, and you'll regret it." The entire ballroom went silent. Not a glass clinked. Not a breath was heard. Everyone stared. Richard laughed, but it sounded forced, nervous. "You're threatening me? Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are." Jack's eyes didn't blink, didn't waver. "You're a bully, and bullies need to be stopped." Richard stepped forward, his chest puffed out, trying to look bigger, trying to look tough. "You think you can stop me? You're nobody. You're nothing." Jack tilted his head slightly. His hand moved to his chest, to the dog tag under his shirt. "I've faced worse than you." "Much worse," someone in the crowd whispered. "Is that guy insane? Richard will destroy him." Another voice. "He's just a worker. He doesn't understand." But Ella understood. From the corner, she watched her father. Pride swelled in her small heart. She whispered to herself, "That's my daddy." Richard raised his hand. For a second, it looked like he might push Jack, might shove him aside. The tension crackled like electricity. Then a voice cut through the silence. Old, strong, commanding. "Sergeant Turner." Everyone turned. An elderly man in a military uniform walked forward. Stars gleamed on his shoulders. A general. His face showed shock and respect. The general stared at Jack. Sergeant Turner, the ghost wolf, is that really you? The ballroom erupted in whispers. People pulled out phones, started searching. Ghost wolf. Who was that? What did that mean? Jack's shoulders stayed relaxed, but his eyes met the general's. A small nod, barely visible. Richard's confidence cracked. Ghost wolf? What are you talking about? The general ignored him. He walked straight to Jack, extended his hand. Sir, it's an honor. Jack shook it. Firm, brief. General Patterson, good to see you. Isabella's hands flew to her mouth. Her eyes went wide. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But these were different tears, not from pain, from shock. Her voice broke. You're the one who saved my father's convoy. 8 years ago, in the desert. Jack looked at her, really looked at her, and he remembered a burning vehicle, gunfire, a young soldier screaming for help. Jack had pulled him out, had carried him to safety. That soldier was Isabella's father. The room spun with revelation. The janitor wasn't a janitor. The invisible man was a legend. The quiet worker was a hero. And Richard Moore suddenly realized he had made a terrible mistake. Richard's face drained of color, his mouth opened, closed. No words came out. He looked around the room, searching for support, for backup, but everyone was staring at Jack. Ghost Wolf, someone whispered. The name spread like wildfire. Phones lit up across the ballroom. Guests typed frantically, searching, reading, learning. One woman gasped, "Oh my God, it's him! The soldier who saved an entire platoon in Afghanistan, single-handedly held off enemy fighters for 6 hours." Another voice, "I read about this. They gave him the Silver Star. He disappeared after he left the military." Richard tried to recover, tried to regain control. "I don't care who he was. This is my event, my deal. He has no right to your event." General Patterson turned slowly. His eyes were ice. "Mr. Moore, you just humiliated a decorated veteran's family member. In public, while drunk." Richard's face went from white to red. "I didn't know. How was I supposed to?" "You weren't supposed to humiliate anyone." The general's voice cut like a blade. "Veteran or not, disabled or not, human decency doesn't require a background check." The crowd murmured agreement. The tide was turning. Fast. Isabella wheeled herself forward. Her hands no longer shook. Her voice was clear, strong. 8 years ago, my father was trapped in a burning convoy. Insurgents surrounded them. Everyone thought they would die. She looked at Jack. Her eyes shone with unshed tears. But one man refused to leave them behind. One man ran through gunfire, pulled my father from the flames, carried him half a mile to safety. Jack shifted uncomfortably. He didn't like attention. Never did. "I was just doing my job, ma'am." "No." Isabella's voice cracked with emotion. "You gave me back my father. You gave me 15 more years with him. He died last year, but he died at home, surrounded by family, because of you." The ballroom was completely silent now. Not a single person moved. Some wiped their eyes. Others stood frozen, listening, absorbing. Richard tried one more time. His voice was desperate, weak. "This is ridiculous. Who even are you people? Why should I care about some old war story?" Jack finally spoke. His voice was calm, patient, but underneath ran steel. "You asked who I am. I'll tell you." He stepped closer to Richard, not threatening, just present, solid, real. "I'm someone who's seen what real weakness looks like. I've watched strong men cry. I've watched wounded soldiers crawl through dirt. I've seen people with no legs drag their friends to safety." Jack paused. Let the words sink in. And you know what I learned? Strength has nothing to do with standing. It's about not bowing down. Richard's eyes darted to the exits. His friends had abandoned him, moved away quietly, pretending they never knew him. General Patterson spoke again. Sergeant Turner received 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star. He saved 47 lives in his service. 47 families got their loved ones back. The general turned to the crowd. And this man, this hero, works as a mechanic, lives quietly, asks for nothing, expects nothing. A woman in a red dress stepped forward. She was crying. My brother was in that convoy. James Mitchell. You carried him out. He's married now. Has 2 kids. Another man raised his hand. My cousin, Daniel Park. You stopped the bleeding, stayed with him until the helicopter came. One by one, and people stepped forward. Not everyone had a direct connection, but everyone understood. This wasn't just about military service. This was about character, about the kind of man who helps without asking for credit. Ella suddenly appeared at Jack's side. She had left her corner, come to find her father. She took his hand, looked up at him with pure love. See, Daddy, I told you. You're a hero. Jack knelt down, eye level with his daughter. Baby, I'm not a hero. I'm just your dad. You're both, Ella said firmly. Then she turned to Isabella, walked right up to her wheelchair. Are you okay? Isabella's composure finally broke. She bent forward, hugged this brave little girl. I am now. Thank you for sharing your daddy. The crowd erupted in applause. Not polite golf claps. Real applause. Standing. Thundering. Some cheered. Some cried. The energy shifted completely. Richard Moore stood alone. Isolated. Exposed. His carefully built image crumbling. Security guards approached from both sides. Mr. Moore, the hotel manager said quietly. You need to leave. Now. You can't kick me out. I have investments. I have power. I'll sue. I'll destroy this place. The manager smiled sadly. Sir, you just destroyed yourself. Please go. The guards took Richard's arms, gently but firmly. They escorted him toward the exit. He tried to resist, tried to shout, but his voice was drowned out by the applause, by the celebration of real courage. As he reached the door, Richard turned back one last time. His eyes met Jack's. For a brief moment, something flickered there. Shame, regret, but it vanished quickly, replaced by anger, by denial. The doors closed behind him, and just like that, he was gone. Isabella wiped her eyes, composed herself. She wheeled to the microphone. The crowd quieted immediately. Tonight was supposed to be about a business deal, she said, her voice carried across the room. But it became something more important. It became about dignity, about respect, about remembering what truly matters. She gestured to Jack. This man taught me something. He taught all of us something. You don't measure a person by what they can or cannot do. You measure them by what they choose to do when it matters. The crowd erupted again, louder this time. People rushed forward, wanting to shake Jack's hand, to thank him, to take photos. But Jack just wanted to leave, wanted to take Ella home, wanted to return to his quiet life. He looked at the general, a silent question. General Patterson nodded, understanding. He held up his hands. Give the man some space. Let him breathe. The crowd stepped back, respectful, grateful. Isabella wheeled closer. Mr. Turner, Jack, please don't go yet. Can we talk? Just for a moment? Jack looked at Ella. She nodded eagerly. We can stay. Daddy, it's okay. He smiled, brushed her hair back. Okay, sweetheart, we'll stay. And in that moment, everything changed. Not just for that night, but for what came next. The ballroom slowly returned to normal. But nothing felt the same. The energy had shifted. The people had changed. Business executives who had laughed at Isabella now approached her with genuine apologies. Some shook her hand. Others simply nodded with respect. The mockery was gone, replaced by something real. One CEO stepped forward. Silver hair, expensive watch. He extended his business card to Isabella. Ms. Lane, I want to apologize, not just for tonight, but for every time I doubted you. Your strength is remarkable. Isabella took the card, studied it. Strength isn't remarkable, it's necessary. But thank you. Another woman approached. She was younger, confident. I'm launching a foundation for adaptive technology. I'd love to partner with your company. If you're interested, Isabella smiled, a real smile this time. I'm very interested. The conversations multiplied. Partnerships formed, connections made. The very people who had stood silent during her humiliation now stood in line to work with her. The reversal was complete. Near the dessert table, 3 men huddled together. They had been Richard's friends, had laughed the loudest at his jokes. Now they looked nervous, exposed. A woman walked past them. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. She paused, looked them up and down. Her voice dripped with contempt. Funny, isn't it? The woman you thought couldn't stand just stood taller than all of you ever will. The men said nothing. Their faces burned with shame. They slipped out quietly. No one noticed. No one cared. Ella sat at a table with General Patterson. He showed her his medals, told her stories about her father, stories Jack had never shared, stories of bravery, of sacrifice, of impossible choices made in impossible moments. Your daddy never told you these things? The general asked. Ella shook her head. He doesn't like to talk about the army. He says that part of his life is over. Maybe, the general said softly. But it's still part of who he is. And you should be very proud. I am, Ella beamed. I'm always proud of him. Across the room, Jack stood with Isabella. They talked quietly, away from the crowd, away from the cameras. Why didn't you ever come forward? Isabella asked. After saving my father, you could have been honored, celebrated. You earned it. Jack shrugged. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was right, because leaving people behind isn't an option. Isabella's eyes filled with tears again. My father talked about you all the time. The ghost wolf, the soldier who appeared from nowhere, who saved everyone, then vanished. I had a daughter to raise, Jack said simply. That became my mission. And you raised her beautifully. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Ella laugh with the general, watching the crowd celebrate, watching justice quietly served. Isabella reached out, took Jack's hand. Tonight, you gave me something I'd lost. My dignity, my strength, my belief that the world still has good people. Jack squeezed her hand gently. You never lost those things. They were always there. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us. The crowd began to disperse. The event was ending, but something new was beginning. Connections forged in fire, friendships born from courage, hope renewed. Ella ran over, grabbed both their hands. Can Miss Isabella come have ice cream with us? Isabella laughed. Actually laughed. I would love that. And for the first time in years, she felt truly free. The ice cream shop was small, bright, nothing fancy, just 3 people in a booth, eating chocolate and vanilla, talking about everything and nothing. Ella showed Isabella her drawings, pages of superheroes, families, dogs. This one is you, she said proudly. She pointed to a figure in a wheelchair. Next to it stood a man and a little girl. All 3 were smiling. Isabella stared at the drawing. Her hands trembled slightly. This is beautiful. Ella, Can I keep it? Really? Ella's eyes went wide. You want to keep my drawing? I want to frame it, put it in my office, so I never forget tonight. Ella hugged her tight. Isabella closed her eyes. For years, she had built walls and kept people distant, afraid of being hurt, being pitied. But this child saw past all that, saw only a person worth knowing. Jack watched them. His heart felt full, strange. He had spent so long focused on survival, on getting through each day. He had forgotten what connection felt like, what community felt like. Thank you, Isabella said to Jack, for everything. You already thanked me. Multiple times. Not enough. Never enough. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I built an empire, made millions, won awards. But tonight, you built me back. You reminded me who I am, beyond the wheelchair, beyond the company, beyond everything else. Jack leaned forward. His voice was gentle. You didn't need building back. You were never broken. You just needed someone to stand beside you. Not in front, not behind, beside. Isabella nodded, unable to speak. The emotion was too much, too real. They sat in silence, eating ice cream, watching Ella draw another picture, this time with 4 people. A new friend added to the family. Later, outside the shop, they said goodbye, but it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Can we see you again? Ella asked Isabella. Absolutely. Anytime you want. Tomorrow? Isabella laughed. Tomorrow works. She looked at Jack. I mean it. About staying in touch. I don't want this to be just one night, one moment. I want to know you both. Really know you. Jack smiled. Rare. Genuine. We'd like that too. As Isabella wheeled away, Ella took her father's hand. They walked down the quiet street. The city lights glowed soft and warm. The dog tag around Jack's neck caught the light, gleamed silver. Jack's voice was quiet, reflective. I thought I left honor on the battlefield. Thought that part of me died when I left the army. But tonight, I learned something. What, Daddy? Honor lives anywhere someone dares to defend dignity. It's not about medals or missions. It's about moments, choices, standing up when others sit down. Ella squeezed his hand. You're the best daddy in the whole world. And you're the best daughter. They walked home together, father and daughter, under stars that witnessed everything, under a sky that promised tomorrow, and tomorrow would be better. Because of tonight, because courage rippled outward, because one person chose to stand and changed everything. Subscribe if you believe respect is the true strength.